25 days, 25 days, 25 minutes of explaining what it is that I do. So, what is a public insurance adjuster? So, the life of a public insurance adjuster. Let me just tell you that if you would have told me today that I was going to be doing this video, I would have said, no way. This is on a dare. Somebody said, hey, you got to just say what it is that you do. We don't even know what that means. What is a public insurance adjuster? So let me bring you along and tell you the life of a public adjuster. Let me tell you what it is. What is a public adjuster? Why should you even care, right? So I am working, I live in Florida. I'm right now in California, in Southern California. I lived here 20 years, and this is where I started my career. I started my career in the insurance industry back in the late 87s, right? 1987. And it was like I was just a chick from uptown Manhattan, and I just needed a job. That's what it was. And I knew how to sell. And I made a call, and that's what started my career. So, and I'll tell you all those stories. But what is a public adjuster? Why should you even care? So, I had someone ask me, a public, what? You work for the city, for the state? Who do you work for? No, on the contrary, I don't work for the city. I don't work for the state. I work for the policy holder. I work in simple terms for the homeowner, the one that had the fire. That's what we do as public adjusters. What is the technical, that falls under? What is it that we do exactly? So the job of a public insurance adjuster, and I'm going to go what the job is, what does it mean, the different types of adjusters, all those things, even what we make. I'm going to tell you all the sauce so that you could understand what it is. It's not that long of a career. Even if you Google, I tried to get ready for this video and tell you what the life is. And I try to bring data. I went on ChatGPT to try to see how many public adjusters there were in the state. It doesn't say. Every state would tell you you have to go on their website, and it's not just public adjusters, it's insurance adjusters, and it's a mess, you all. But the career itself has not been around that long. What is it that we do? Our job is to advise. What is a public insurance adjuster? Our job is to advise and assist in the preparation and presentation of a claim. You're like, what are you talking about, Willis? What does that even mean? So, the insurance company, this is the easiest way to try to figure this out. The insurance company is going to be sending an adjuster, right? An adjuster is the wildfires. That's what I'm working right now. The insurance company, whether it's State Farm, Allstate, whoever, is going to send an adjuster that represents the interest of the insurance company, right? That's a company adjuster, right? And people say, and I will do another video on that. People say, that's my adjuster. My adjuster is coming tomorrow at 3 o'clock. My stomach, my head wants to turn. No, that's not your adjuster. That's not your adjuster. That's the insurance company adjuster. Okay. And you and them, you have two different interests. Okay. Anyway, the insurance company adjuster is the one that actually does the estimate, communicates between you and the insurance company, and they are paid by the insurance company. Think about that. They are paid by the insurance company. If they're paid by the insurance company, do they have your best interest in mind? You answer that all by yourself. What is a public insurance adjuster? So we're like that adjuster. We're licensed by the state, but we're licensed by the state to negotiate on behalf of the policyholder. If you read your policy, which most people don't do, and that's another video for another day as well, most people do not read their policy. And even if they do, you're not an expert on knowing what is in that policy. Like even when I get a new policy that I have not, by now we pretty much have dealt with just about every insurance company, but I need to look and see what this person, what is their endorsement, what does it cover, what does it not cover, right? So looking at that policy, our job is to look at everything the insurance company is not telling you that you have available to you. So, what is it that we do, right? Besides drinking tons of coffee, I'm at my friend's house and my business partner, and she's like, "My gosh, you drink a lot of coffee." I do. I drink a lot of coffee. That's my one addiction that I still love. And I am Spanish and we grew up on coffee. Okay. No judging here. But, by God's grace, a lot of other things in my life have gone to the sideway. And it's only Him that took it away. Right. So this is my one thing. But what is the job of a public insurance adjuster? Our job is to write the estimate for the building, to negotiate on behalf of the policyholder. Because when you look at the people of California from the wildfires, insurance companies, for the most part, they're going to write policy limit for the most part, right? They're going to get a check and get their policy limit. Not necessarily, but most companies, that's the way that they will go. And people say, I've been paid. It's so good. My insurance company wrote me a check right away. They like to come strong, build that bond, make sure that the policyholder, the homeowner, feels like everything is good in their lives, that they're going to be paid. And they are paid that 100% policy limit. The problem is that they send you that check kind of like to make you feel comfortable and kind of manipulate you. And they don't tell you, for the most part, all the other coverages that you have. And even if you do know and you read, it's like, how do I get the extended replacement cost? Right? That extended replacement cost on top of your limit. So, as an example, let's say that you have $1 million policy on the dwelling. Okay, let's say that is the case. They pay you that $1 million. Ooh, that's a great check. And people decide, hey, I've gotten enough, I've gotten all my money. It's not. If the extended replacement cost on your dwelling is an additional 50%, you're entitled per your policy to collect that. But how do you go out and prove to the insurance company? And that's another huge thing. How is it that you, as a policyholder, you are the inexperienced and you are the one that has the burden of proof? Because the insurance companies had plenty of knowledgeable attorneys to be able to put those policies together, which now become kind of like your Bible. That is the contract that they abide by. And if you do not agree with what they're paying you are the one that has to bring the evidence, that has to give them the documentation, the paperwork to make sure that you are paid. That is what a public insurance adjuster does. What we do is we analyze that policy, we see what's in that coverage. As an example, going back to the building, which is coverage A, the dwelling part of your claim. Okay. So extend the replacement cost. If that extended replacement cost is 20%, 25%, 50%, and at times even 100%, that's one endorsement that you have on your policy. Okay. The second one is debris removal. And a lot is being said about debris removal and cleanup and things like that. So there's FEMA, there's the city, there's Army Corps of Engineer, right? Everybody wants to come in, even private companies. Like right now, we are reaching out to private companies and seeing if we are able to get a better deal for our clients. because the debris removal, a lot of policyholders, they think right, that the city, FEMA, Army Corps of Engineer, that they're all free, and they're not, you all. They're not free. Look at the fine language. They are charging the 5% of debris removal, and they're also charging the 5% of the tree removal. So it's 5%, the trees and shrubs, I'm sorry, the cleanup, the debris removal, right? And then also the 5% for the trees and shrubs. So 5 and 5, that's 10%. Going back to that $1 million policy, for the cleanup, they're charging you $100,000. Not only are you signing for them to go directly with the insurance company, you are doing an assignment of claim to them. Okay. You are not even, they're not telling you when they're coming in to do it. You have to, there's two choices. There's two choices in that contract. You want them to do the cleanup and just clean the property, and you cannot tell them, hey, that tree is good, I want that tree to be no, they have control. They don't tell you when they're going to come in, and a lot of damage is done from there. It may be the best option for a policy holder, especially if that person doesn't have enough insurance. Going back to the numbers, let's say that that person only has $300,000 in limits, right, on the dwelling, on the building, right? And then now cleanup, you only have $30,000. And then you have a home that is a 3,000 square foot home, or whatever the case may be. A lot of these families, they bought these policies many years ago, and you may not have enough, and that may be your best choice. Make sure there's two options I said that you click. One just to clean up, another one is remove the foundation. And whether you want the foundation removed or not, that is a decision that you, as a homeowner, make. So you have to make sure. We are telling clients, do not remove the foundation, because if you have to now replace your foundation, that may be tons of money that you are becoming responsible, that the insurance company is not paying you for that foundation, because you are supposed to be the expert that decides whether that foundation is good or not in the meantime, until you have a contractor. So now that you're checking, you have that decision to make, checking that box. And yes, you're supposed to go back to the contractor and ask and get an expert opinion. Well, right now, people don't have contractors. They haven't made that decision yet. They're still in the negotiation procedures. So, how can they make that decision? You need an expert to make that decision. But even then, it is best that you allow someone that's in the business, like a public adjuster, to tell you what the whole scenario is, so you're not overpaying and then assigning your rights to that, to FEMA or to the city or to Army Corps of Engineer, right? Nothing against those institutions, grateful that they're out there, but you want to make sure that you analyze. Going back to the life of a public adjuster, what else is it that we actually do in regards to that policy and in regards to negotiation for the policyholder? What else is in that policy? So you have the dwelling, you have, we talked about trees and shrubs, that's 5%, that it is on your policy. It's not just your limits, it's also that additional 5% is trees and shrubs, debris removal, which is 5%. So that is 10% of that $1 million. That's 100,000 nobody's telling you about. The extended replacement cost could be anywhere from 20% to 100%. If nobody's telling you about that, that's an additional, maybe it could be 200,000. It could be an additional $5 million, right? Then there's code upgrades. Code upgrades is anything and everything that deals with what the city is now asking you to do. Are they asking you to upgrade your any trade, right? Anything that needs a license. Electrical needs a license, right? You need it's an expertise, it's a trade. Mechanical, that's your air conditioning, that needs a trade. Plumbing, that needs a trade, right? It could be that your particular city is saying, hey, I need you to do solar now. It just depends what they're asking you to do. Anything that they're saying you now need, because when you build a house back in the 40s, the 50s, it was not there, and you need to bring it up to code now that it's completely burned, that falls under that. And code upgrades could be from 0%. Some people may not have it. It could be 10%. It could be all the way. What I have seen in 37 years is 50% of the coverage. So that is also another endorsement that your insurance company may not tell you. So let's go back to the numbers. What is the job of a public adjuster? In this case, in this scenario, if you, like this woman told me the other day, I've been paid everything. I don't need help. I was paid my limits. Well, if she had $1 million limit and she's not being told of the additional 5% tree removal, trees and shrubs, right? Which covers trees and shrubs, cover the removal and then also the replacement of those trees, right? So when you give up all of your money to these companies, that 5%, understand that you're giving up the money to also replace those trees. That's why we are looking for companies that are maybe charging less. So we have a company that may be charging 7%, and we're going to get those numbers right and tight. And that gives the opportunity, let's say, in regards to that particular scenario, $1 million. And these companies are taking the 5% debris removal and the 5% trees and shrubs. That's $100,000 that they're taking automatically. You're signing your rights away to that, right? If you decide, hey, I am going, if we're able to find a company that can actually support our clients and do it for the 7%, well, that's $30,000 that they will have to be able to replace some of the trees that they lost. And that is a help, right? Another thing that may be on your policy is the whole subject of pollution, right? You have to look for that endorsement and make sure that it is there. So you have trees and shrubs, you have debris removal, you have extended replacement cost, you have code upgrades, and perhaps even pollution. Those are the money. When you add up, let's go back to our example, 5% and 5%, trees and shrubs, and then debris removal, that's 10%, right? 10%. Then code upgrades. Let's say that you had 50% on code upgrades. That's $500,000 there, right? If you had extended replacement costs, and that was also at 50%, that's $500,000 there, okay? And then, so you have code upgrades at 50%, you have extended replacement costs at 50% of $1 million. Just in these two alone, that's $1 million. They're not telling you. And if they're not telling you and you do not know how to present the paperwork to be able to get this money, even if you have a contractor that does an estimate and says, it is $2 million to do this project, that doesn't mean that that contractor knows how to negotiate the bottom line. So that's $1 million that you're not being told about. You're not being paid. Nobody knows how to negotiate. That is the job of a public insurance adjuster. The extended replacement cost, the code upgrades, the trees and shrubs, the debris removal, that's over the limits. because the trees and shrubs and the debris removal, that's an additional 100,000. And it may be just a flat fee for pollution. Let's say is $10,000 as an example. So here it is. It's $100,000 in these two coverages of trees and debris removal, and then pollution. That's 110,000 you're not being told about, right? And then $1 million between extended replacement costs if you have the 50%, and code upgrades if you have the 50%. That's $1,000,001, right? So when you are looking at your claim, it serves you and your family to at least have a free evaluation. I tell people, a lot of people do not hire us. I give so much information that a lot of people say, hey, I can figure this out. I can do it on my own, right? And that's fine. That's what we're here to do, is educate the consumer. If you hire us, perfect. A lot of people, we have attorneys that say, I don't even know how to negotiate this. I am too stressed out to be able to be there for my family. My job right now is to support my family. I need an expert that knows what they're doing to make sure that I am being paid what I need to be paid per my policy. And that's what a public insurance adjuster does, right? So make sure that as you look at your claim, what we enable to do a free evaluation, what we ask is a copy of the policy or the declaration page, any paperwork as far as settlement is concerned, anything that the insurance company would have sent to you, and any checks if you have, or where it actually says the amounts that you have been paid. We look at, okay, this is what your policy says. Your policy says dwelling $1 million, but then it also says extended replacement cost, say as an example, 50%. Code upgrades, 50%. Trees and shrubs, 5%. Debris removal, 5%. This is what your policy covers as a whole. You have been paid this, they still owe you this. This is what we can charge to get you the difference. We get a fee out of the settlement. And in the beginning, like right now, in the beginning of a claim process, I know for us as a company, we are charging 10%. Later on, where we are just getting you this money, that percent may change depending on what it is that you have left on that policy. Um, Other companies are charging 15%, 20%. We as a company, we decided in the beginning, we are going to charge 10%. And then that changes depending as to when someone may call us for help, right? That's all on the dwelling. Our job is to write the estimate. Our job is to negotiate on that estimate. There's other coverages. It's not just the dwelling. You also have personal property, which is, I believe, as public adjusters, that is the hardest and the most difficult time, a difficult job of all the negotiations for us as public adjusters, and where we bring the most value to policyholders. Because imagine a homeowner going back to doing this inventory alone. It's very difficult to relive the memories. And the insurance company understands that, right? And that's why most consumers, most policyholders, after a claim, do not do an inventory. The insurance company comes out, they pay 50% of the funds, and they pay 50% of the funds, and the policyholder does not get the rest of their money because they're not willing to do the inventory. I want to be mindful of the 25 minutes that I said I was going to be here. I'm going to do another video in regards to what is a public adjuster and what we do in regards to the personal property. Another coverage is additional living expense if you're a homeowner If it's a commercial, it may be business interruption. There's a lot of other things that may be on your policy depending on whether it's a residential or it's a commercial. I know that the life of a public insurance adjuster is the life that most people, when I meet them and I'm talking to them, they have no idea of what it is. And I decided, you know what? I am going to put this content on YouTube. I'm going to make it easy for people to understand and for people to get familiar with what public adjusters do, how we do it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I still got my bun, my hair is falling off over here. And I said, I'm not going to complicate this thing. I'm just going to make it easy so that everyday people can understand what a public adjuster is, what we do, how we can help policyholders to get all of their money and their families not to get burnt twice. Let's go.